Good evening, folks. It's Tuesday evening and it's 5:45. I'm on week 4 plus 1 day of self-isolation, and a few things have happened in the last few days. The first one was last Thursday. I knew I was only a week off needing my medication, so what I do is I use an app. If you've ever used this app, it's brilliant. It's called My GP, and what you basically do is you download the app. You put in all your details, you get permission from your health authority, and what they will do then is the chemists are linked to it, so you can order your prescription via the app, and that's what I've been doing for a few months now. Anyway, I did it, and what I normally have to do is once I've completed the prescription, I then have to ring up the chemist and arrange a delivery. So I'd done it, and I tried to ring the chemist, and I knew I'd be in a queue anyway, and he said I was third in the queue, and that was fine. And I waited, then he said I was second, then he said I was first, and then it cut off. It just beeped, went off completely. So I thought, maybe my phone's playing up. So I tried it again, and this time it told me I was 2 in the queue. Then it said I was 1, and then it just beeped again. So I thought, this is a bit of a pain in the backside. So I emailed them and asked them if there was a problem, because obviously I need my meds for Thursday coming. I didn't hear back off them until this morning, but by then I'd already rung again, and I got the same thing. It got to where there's one person waiting, and then cut off again. Now, at this point, I was a bit worried because I was wondering how I was going to get my medication or whatever. So I tried again, but on my mobile phone, in case it was a landline phone that was playing up, and it did the same again. So at this point, I was a bit panicky. And then about 10-15 minutes later, I got a message, an email, a response from the one I sent last Thursday. I know it's taken 5 days, but I can understand that because we just had Easter bank holiday weekend, so that didn't surprise me at all. But it said that they've been having massive high call volumes, and it's messed about with the phone system. But if I'd just made an order of my prescription, it would be here on either Friday or Monday. Well, I've sent them one back saying, no, I ordered it last Thursday, and I just want to know when it's going to be out, because my wife's already said that if it doesn't come on Thursday, because that's when I need my meds for Friday. Now, a couple of them, you know, it's not so bad, the painkillers and stuff like that, and my tramadol, I can live without them if I have to for a few days. But my levothyroxine are to control my thyroid. Now, I've had problems in the past where my thyroid hasn't been under control, and it's led to some serious situations. I've lost consciousness before now when my thyroid's playing up really bad. And the other ones are omeprazole, which control my stomach because I've got gastroesophageal reflux disease, and if I don't have them 2 or 3 days in a row, I have the worst burning in my stomach ever. It's basically like you've got acid in your stomach trying to come out, and of course when you do let it come out, it then sets fire to your throat. So you are literally in a lot of pain, and I'm talking serious. It's basically like drinking a scalding hot cup of tea straight down your throat. So I was a bit concerned, and I still am at the moment because I haven't heard anything back off them. But luckily, if my meds aren't here for Thursday, Deb said she's going to nip down and get them. Now, the reason I won't go get them is because, one, I'm self-isolating, and I have got quite a bad immune system. I really have, and Deb's witness to this. I can go to the hospital for a routine appointment, whether it be anything from my eyes, my ears to whatever, and you can guarantee that within 3 days of going to the hospital, just a normal appointment, I will be ill. And I'm talking really ill. I'm talking like flu symptoms, really bad symptoms. I can have pains in my stomach. I can be throwing up acid and stuff, and I get really ill quickly. Well, with this going round now, I don't want to take the risk, first of all, of me catching it. And secondly, if I have got it and it's lying dormant, my glasses keep slamming my nose, sorry, passing it on to somebody else. Because obviously I've got relatives and friends in this street who are quite elderly, and I don't like the idea that I might pass it on to people. I've seen, by the way, today some absolutely bizarre stories. The first one I saw, it was yesterday, and it involved a family from London who decided to break the quarantine rules and do a fishing trip, and they travelled 200 miles to Devon with the family for do a fishing trip. The only problem is Devon turned round and sent them back home, but the police stopped them and they fined them there and then on the spot and sent them back home. Now, if you are going to do stupid stuff like that, we are going to be in quarantine and self-isolation for bloody years. I still cannot get my head around the fact that people cannot follow simple instructions. It's not even rocket science. You haven't got to do 30 steps. You've got to do one step: stay at home. That's it. You staying in could mean that we could go out within the next 4 to 6 weeks. You going out all the time and meeting your mates and God knows what could mean we're in this till October, November, December. And I don't relish staying in the house until December. I'll climb the walls by then. Another story I saw today, which I was absolutely amazed at. These are proper stories, I'm telling you. They're not made up. A group of 20 youths and adults were broken up because they were playing cricket out on a green because they were bored during lockdown. So they phoned the mates and all met up and played cricket. Bored during lockdown. In 1939 we had the Second World War, right? And lads of 18, 17 and women were putting their lives on the line for the sake of this country, and you can't even stay in your own house. You're mad. You're absolutely mental. You really are. You people who are doing this, I do not understand your mentality. I really don't. I don't like staying in all the time, particularly when it's been absolutely beautiful weather out there. It's been lovely and sunny and everything. And normally me and Deb would have been downtown, we'd have gone Cleveley's, we'd have gone out for a meal, we'd have had a walk to the end of the pier. But I'm not going to sit here saying, oh, I wish, because at the end of the day, we had no choice. And you shouldn't have a choice, you should stay in. It's not stay in if you want to, but try and sneak out if you can. It is stay in. You can't get much simpler than that, can you? I give up, I really do. And another story I saw today, which was a bit of a strange one, really. And it's something that happened in Blackpool a couple of days ago. Where I live, in Blackpool, is not far from the seafront. It's about 1.5 miles back. But the other day, a car was found halfway down between the road and the sea, on its roof, on some bollards quite a way down the path, and the driver's saying that it was parked in the street opposite and it rolled down without its handbrake on, managed to roll across 2 lanes of tarmac, straight the way across tram lines and across the fronts, hit the rail and flip over and land 25 foot further down on its roof. Now, I've been working this out, and even physics doesn't make sense here, because when that car was rolling down with its handbrake off, it had to go over tram lines. Now, tram lines jut up, they stick up in the air. Now, you would have thought that when it hit them tram lines, soon one of the things would have stopped it, whether it be a curb, a railing, a bollard, or the tram lines. Something would have stopped it. So I do not get how it's gone all the way across 2 lanes of tarmac, a road, a double road, 2 lanes of a double road, across a pavement, across tram lines, and across about another 20 foot of tarmac in order to hit a railing and flip over. I can't work that out. Physics won't allow me to work that one out. I don't understand. Now, I've had a lot of nice comments on me vlogs. A lot of people are signing up. I'm up to nearly 750 now, which is good. I'm enjoying it. I've got a few new members. I'll give a shout out. I can't remember half of the names, but I know Sarah Barnett. She's subscribing to me with, and apparently a little lad called Freddie. He watches me as well, though he probably wonders who I am or what I am. I don't know. But yeah, so I'm enjoying that. And I think it's mainly because I talk to people as if they're humans. I don't try and impress them with what I've got and what I haven't got. I don't talk about wealth or money, because I ain't got none of that, to be honest with you. I'm quite happy living my life how I live it. As I say, if I've got a roof over my head, which I have, if I've got food in my belly and I've got gas, electricity and water, everything I need, and obviously my medication, and I've got a loving wife, and I've also got a lovely dog. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to count your blessings, haven't you? You've got to be thankful for what you've got, not sorry for what you haven't. That's my motto, by the way. That's written on most of my stuff. Be thankful for what you've got. Don't be sorry for what you haven't. It's a very good motto. I made it up myself, I think, but I love it. I think it suits me down to the ground, that does. I haven't been doing a lot in the house over the last few days. I've been mainly doing surveys and doing a bit of gaming. I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins, which has got my name written all over it as soon as I found out it was set in ancient Egypt. I love it. I absolutely love games like that. And there was a debate going on earlier on one of the forums as to what they think the next Assassin's Creed game will be. Well, we've done ancient Egypt, we've done French Revolution and all that sort of thing, and I think a fantastic one would be if they base one on Norse mythology, or if they want to do a fancy one based on the Robin Hood legend. I think that would be quite interesting, because what I like about these games and the fact that they're set in ancient times is you don't get guns in the ones set in ancient Greece and ancient Egypt. You've got to use swords and crossbows. So there's no getting a machine gun or a rocket launcher and blowing somebody up from 500 foot. You've got to get up close and personal, or within shot of a bow and arrow. And anybody who likes them sort of games, I'd recommend Assassin's Creed Origins. It is really, really good. It's very involving. There's a lot of historical elements to it. You get to go in all the different pyramids and stuff, and you have to solve clues and crimes and murders and everything. It is really, really good. And I think I'm on about 40 odd hours now, and on Odyssey I'm on 156 hours. So, because I only do a couple of hours at a time, I can't do any more because of these. As I've told you before, my hands don't seem to want to function. The other day also, obviously it was Easter Sunday. I hope you all had a lovely Easter. But on Easter Sunday, my wife Deb, she's doing a lot more home cooking now. She's got loads of cookbooks and stuff, and she made us a chicken korma and a vegetable korma, which she's done before, and she did some rice with it and everything. But what she did, which she's never done before, is she did what was in the book. It said they were chapatis, but when they came out, I think they were more naan bread, because my mum used to go out with an Asian guy called Riaz, and when he had chapatis, they were basically like a hot towel. It was a massive thing, and you could fold it and then fold it and fold it, and literally you could just keep folding the bloody thing. But the difference is with naan breads, you can't fold them. You can tear them, but you can't fold them, because if you fold them, they'll split. And that's why I think these were naan breads, because they were absolutely gorgeous. They were with the chicken korma and the rice. They were beautiful. And I posted pictures on Facebook. So if you go onto my Facebook account, you'll see it on there. I've also got another video poem on the go at the moment, and it's one I wrote a while ago called The Time of Life, and I'm experimenting this time because I'm actually going to put my voice to the images, and it's either going to come out brilliant or it's going to be a complete bloody disaster. So I'll find out one way or the other. But I love doing my video poems. I think they are, poetry is my life really. It's what I'm about. So to put them in video form and to be able to put images with them is great. I haven't got the best voice in the world, but people can usually understand what I'm saying because I don't stumble over words. I'm not one of these people who talk like that and you can't. I'm not one of them who talks like that and you can't hear what they're saying. I don't mumble. It's not very often people will actually ask me to say something again, because with my booming voice, they'll hear me the first time out, because that's how I am. And it all stems from years and years ago, about 20 odd years ago now. I used to work for a company called ANC Parcels in Chesterton in Newcastle-under-Lyme in Staffordshire, and one of my jobs was I was on the MCA, which is called Major Customer Accounts. So I had to learn to put a lot of what's the word I'm trying to look for, I had to make people so that they wouldn't take me for granted, so that they didn't think I was being, he sounds like right wet one, will walk all over him. I had to put authority into my voice, that's the word I was looking for. And sometimes I did have to ring up depots around the country and give them a right rollicking. Now when I first started, of course, I was very weak at the knees and new to it all, so they used to walk all over me. But after a while, I started realising that if I wanted to get them to do things, I had to really put authority into my voice, and so my voice went up a few levels, and sometimes I do end up almost shouting when I don't mean to shout. The amount of times my wife has to say to me, you're talking loud, can you calm it down? And I don't realise I'm talking loud, because it's just how I am and who I am. So I've got a good voice for reading things out, you see, because I'm very clear. I mean, my elocution ain't very good, don't get me wrong. I'm not one of these people who speaks perfect Queen's English. I don't. No way do I. I've got more shortcuts and more, short words than anything. Because where I was brought up in Stoke-on-Trent, in Braidley, we weren't really famous for being educated people. A lot of the people around there were pottery workers, which means they made the plates that most of you see around in antique shops, things like Dalton, things like Spode, Minton, Wedgwood, all them sort of things that originated in Stoke-on-Trent. And there's 5 towns of the potteries, and I've got these right now, otherwise I'll look an idiot, and they are Tunstall, Burslem, Hanley, Stoke and Fenton, if I'm not mistaken. Longton might be in there somewhere, but them are the 5 towns of the potteries from what I know, and everything originated from there, all to do with all the pottery industry and everything. It was a massive thriving industry, and of course they didn't really go much for massive education, because you didn't need education in order to go into a pot bank is what we used to call them, pot banks. In order to go into a pottery bank and actually do things like pulling trucks full of ware and putting stuff in ovens, kiln ovens and stuff like that. So education I didn't really need much of. Unfortunate for me, I decided to go into the computer industry when I left school, and there wasn't really much call for that in Stoke-on-Trent, to be honest with you. I found it very hard going, but I got through it with a couple of my mates, like who I'm still friends with now. So we still rattle ideas off against each other. If one of us comes up with a problem on computers, we'll get in touch with each other and try and pick each other's brains out. I've done it with my mate Ian Maddock. He rings me up sometimes and says, can I pick your brains? And I'll ring him up sometimes and say, well, can I pick yours on this? And we'll get there in the end. There isn't many computer problems we haven't solved between us. This is a weird one. I noticed earlier on today as well a video that somebody had posted, and it was quite disturbing and quite disgusting at the same time. And it showed a couple of lads outside a supermarket, and it looked like the supervisor was standing there. And these lads were as white as I am, don't get me wrong, but for some reason they decided to talk as if they were gangsters or something from America. You know, they were going on about, I'll be back and I'll stamp on your head and I'll bring an axe and I'll cut your man and all this. And I'm like, you don't half sound like a complete prat. Anyway, they'd been identified by the look of it. They rode off, they gave a load of abuse to this woman, said they were going to come back and cut her up with an axe and stamp on her husband's head or something or other. I heard all little bits of it, and they were having a go at people in the crowd. And all they were school kids. They were no older than about 15. They couldn't have been 15, 14. And they thought they were all that. And I thought to myself, if you took one of them and picked them up and put them in one of the rough areas, somewhere where they do all that sort of stuff, say like the Bronx in America, and put them there, they would be crying for their mothers within 10 minutes. Because they might think they're all that, they might think they're all rock hard, you know, but they're not. They're not. They want you to think they are, they give it all this spiel, you know, but they're not. They're not at all. They're just complete nutter, I'm not going to swear, but they're complete nutter wazzicks, for want of a better word. They just are. They're mad. Anyway, I'm going to pause it now so I can pause it on my timeline, and then I'm just going to have a talk about a few little things from Braidley when I was younger. I've recently joined a group on Facebook called the Braidley Gang. Now, I was brought up in Braidley. It was in Stoke-on-Trent, and it was a little rundown town, and it was very, very, very basic. We were all poor. Not poor, we were working class. And none of us had got a pot to, none of us had got any money. There was only about 2 cars in the entire street. That's how bad it was. Now, although we had nothing, they were the best days of my life. And the reason they were the best days of my life was because I learned everything back then. I learned how to be humble. I learned how to appreciate what I've got. I learned how to not want too much. And don't look too high, you know, don't try and reach for the stars when you've not even got off the ground. You've got to do things in stages. And living in Braidley, I met some of the best people that I've ever known in my life, and I'm still talking to some of them now on Facebook. I'm still friends with them. I will get these glasses super glued to my nose, I think. And I was thinking the other day about how I was talking to my mum actually, and I said to her, to be honest with you, for what we did when I was younger, I should be dead. I should be dead. Because the things we used to do for entertainment, we used to do things like pulling the live wires out of sockets and stuff like this, and jumping on them when they sparked. You know, stupid stuff now that I wouldn't think about doing now. You know, if I could send a note to my younger self, it would say something like, "You are so lucky that you don't die doing this." Because I have done some really, really stupid things. There also used to be this thing in Bradley called the Reza Hill. And what it basically was, it was a massive hill with a reservoir at the side of it. And this hill must have been about, good 80, 90 foot high. And I used to run to the top of it, from the top of it, run along the top of it, and throw myself off this hill. Legs first. And I used to go flying down this bank, and usually I landed on my back. I landed on my back or my backside, and then I'd slide the rest of the way on the gravel. And I am so lucky I didn't break my legs or my neck. And I look at myself now and I think, I can't believe the things I used to do, you know. And yet I'm here because I've got memories from it. I've got loads of memories of different things from Bradley. I mean, my first girlfriend, I remember I had a girlfriend called Tonya Walker, right? I'd just started high school, and I was crazy about it. I was only 12, 11, something like that. Anyway, I was crazy about it, and I asked her out, and she said yes, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Way, great stuff, yeah." But I was too embarrassed to take her back to my house. For the first couple of months, I pretended that we lived in a caravan, and I couldn't take her back because I didn't know where we were going to park it at night. So I had to guess where we were going to park it, so there was no point. Anyway, in the end, I told her the truth, because we went out for 2 years or so, we did. And she came back to my house one day, and I was embarrassed because it was only a terraced house with an outside toilet. There was no inside toilet. There was an outside toilet that was just in a little brick building at the bottom of the yard. The toilet didn't flush. Nothing worked properly in it. You know, the house was falling to bits. I didn't have a bedroom window for the last few years. The back door, if you give it a good kick, it would fly open, whether it got a lock on it or not. You know, the ceilings in the bedroom didn't actually touch the walls. There was a big black gap where things used to come crawling out. So this was quite an embarrassing time for me, you know, when I took her back to mine. And she was fine with it. She was absolutely fine. And I couldn't believe it, because I'd been to her house, and she lived in a semi-detached house, what we used to call a tin hut, because it was made from part of it was made from corrugated iron. They were the old houses that were built like prefabs just after the war, sort of thing. And I went back to her house, and it was really strange because there was an inside toilet and everything, and I couldn't believe it. And I just thought to myself, wow, you know, is this how the other half live? And I thought she was loaded. I thought she was rich as hell. She weren't. She was only a stone's throw up from us. She was basically lower middle class, whereas we were working class. And it was a bit the same, really, when years later, when I met my now wife, because she was from a background where they used to go abroad 2 or 3 times, you know, in a year or something, or maybe once a year or twice a year. And she was also well educated, you know, she got bloody masters and doctorates and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff. And her family would, you know, her dad was an ex-Royal Marine, and her mum was caring assistant, and all sorts of stuff she'd done. And I was thinking, wow, I've got no chance here. And yet here I am 20 years down the line, coming up to our 20th anniversary in just a couple of months' time in July, and we're still together now, and we've been married for 6 years. So obviously class didn't make a difference. And we met on the internet. We actually met on the internet. All it was I was in a place called Talk City, and we were in there one day, and I was talking, and I just got bored, and I said, does anybody want a private chat just for a rattle? And anyway, this screen messaged me, and I thought, right, I'll have a talk to you for a bit. And I started talking to her, and we got on absolutely brilliant. We really did get on well. And of course, back then it was dial-up internet, and everybody who's born after the year 2000 won't know what that is. But dial-up internet was basically the internet, but it used to cut off at a certain time, midnight usually, and then it wouldn't come back on again until it's 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. So once the internet stopped at midnight, that was it. There was none of this all-night internet stuff that you get nowadays, staying on it 24/7. You couldn't do that back then. And the bad thing about the dial-up internet was, because we had dial-up internet, when I was back at my mum's, if the phone went, it used to cut off your internet because it was plugged into a socket in the wall. And if you were plugged into one of them double sockets where you got the phone plugged in and the internet plugged in, if the phone went, the internet would disconnect, which meant downloading files like songs or Word documents or anything could take you a week just to download a song. I used to use a thing called Napster, and I'm talking when it was in its infancy days, and that was an absolute nightmare, because you'd usually get about 90% of the way through an album and the person on the other side would disconnect you. Sorry, a song, not an album. You wouldn't have a chance of downloading an album. You had to do it a song at a time. But if the other person, the other end, disconnected you, that was it. You had to start from scratch the next day. There was no, oh, I'll start where I left off. You couldn't do that. You'd have to start downloading the song again right from the start. And you could have been 6 hours downloading it, but it doesn't matter. You've got to do it again now. But we coped, you see. We coped with that. And that's how it is. Whereas obviously now we've got super fast ultra broadband and all this sort of stuff, and you can get downloads done in what, 5 minutes for do a bloody movie and stuff like that. And it's just incredible now, when I think that, you know, I grew up in the infancy of the internet. I saw it all from the very beginning, from Windows, very early Windows, all the what's it ones, Windows 3.1, Windows 95, 97, 06, 7, blah blah blah, all the different Windows versions that there've been, and I've been there for every single one of them. And the very first one, Windows 3.1, was on floppy disks. Again, you won't know what they are unless you were born before 2000. They were literally little hard disks with information on that you put into a floppy drive. Not these like what you've got nowadays, nothing like that. And each one held, I think it was 1.44 megabytes of data. So it took about 16 disks in order to install this piece of software. And instead of having it saying disk 1, then disk 2, then disk 3, you would put disk 1 in and it would say please insert disk 9, please insert disk 4, please insert disk 7. Why they never had them 1 to 15, I have no idea, but they didn't. Anyway, I've rattled on now for nearly 30 minutes. I do apologise, but I thought I'd do a big one today, just have a bit of a talk to you. It also helps me, you see, because it gets rid of some of my anxiety, because I do suffer with anxiety, and this just helps me to be free. So you're helping me at the same time. I'm hopefully, you know, giving you something to watch. But you all take care, and I'll do another vlog soon, and the next one will be a video poem. So you all take care for now. Bye.